In the shadowy corners of power and influence, where the lines between truth and deception blur, lies a world that few dare to explore. Join us as we venture into the labyrinth of the unspoken, the hidden, the deliberately obscured. We shine a light on the dogma that's been fed to the masses, unmasking the intricate web of deception spun by those who wish to control you. Welcome to Beyond Undisclosed. The truth is waiting.
The solar hierarchy of lights of your sister planet Abihar extends joyous greetings to the inhabitants of the Earth. This is Queen Order of Abihar speaking to you on a recorded message delivered to our emissary, the incarnation of Publius Virgilius Maro, the one commonly known amongst you as the Cosmic Ray, Dr. Raymond Keller, the author of the Venus Rising trilogy of books, on Sunday, 10 February 2018. You should be receiving this message on the night of Valentine's Day, Wednesday, 14 February 2018, over Rains Radio. Our love and thanks are also extended to our cosmic brothers Jeff Ramsey, Frank Chile, and all the other brothers and sisters working diligently behind the scenes at Rains Radio, bringing to the public's attention the truth that is out there, the truth about intelligent life forms filling the immensity of space and their visitations to Earth in the Venturas, beam ships, SOPs, Merkabas, and other ethereal star vessels that your military and political authorities have erroneously referred to as unidentified flying objects. The planet Abihar, or Venus as you know it, represents the highest manifestation of love and peace in the solar system. Your ancestors from the remote past recognized our world as the celestial sign for the goddess of love and beauty, as well as the herald of peace and understanding. On this night of Saint Valentine, it is duly recognized by the solar hierarchy of light placed on Abihar that a message of love and peace is exactly what your world's perplexed inhabitants require at this time for the purposes of securing their own mutual development and bringing about the long prophesied Aquarian age of enlightenment and universal understanding. It saddens us that your governments and religions so burden you with endless laws and ordinances, completely ignoring the sound advice of the master teacher Jesus the Christ, sent among you 2 millennia ago, who taught the simple principle of unfailing kindness in love for the infinite Creator, as expressed and manifested through love for your own divine essence in the embodiment of the celestial spark that indwells and permeates all of your neighbors. Remember that the angels of the celestial worlds, and particularly of Abihar and the other planets of our solar system, both seen and unseen, forever attend you. As the human being is well motivated by love, our advice is to continue to manifest kindness and good works, for you never know when you shall find yourself in our presence. Your manifestations of love will garner you the prize of life, both happy and eternal. This is how we shall the new earth, and in turn, bid you entrance to the glories of Abihar and other orbs in the pleroma. We, along with our brothers Cosmic Ray and Frank Chile, as well as our sisters Omnek Onek and Sherry Lynn, look forward to meeting you on the slopes of Mount Shasta on the 27th through 29th of July for the From Venus with Love World Conference. Our blessings are transmitted to you and yours on multidimensional planes for a happy Valentine's Day. Keep love in your heart every day so that each and every one becomes a special Valentine's celebration. I regret that I cannot speak to you live at this time as I am conducting an important mission in the Saturnian system. This is the Queen Order of Abihar.
So that's the first message. This is the one. I'm not going to play. This is one. I went to China. Raymond and I were arrested and deported. They didn't like our message. Um, Lots of things going on there. I'm not going to get into that.
Dear friend.
But um, this is a famous picture of Valiant Thor, and we're going to get into your questions there about the Freemasons and all that stuff in a moment. So I've met all of these three Venusians here. This one on the right is named Valiant Thor. He landed in Alexandria, Virginia, around my birthday in 1957. Actually, this was 2 weeks before. It was literally right around Easter. He landed, and he had a silver spaceship and a spacesuit. He decloaked the spaceship, and it went up, and he was approached in a park by a police officer, and they have a way of making you see or think things just like a Jedi, for sure. I have lots of stories about that for me personally. But he said, I mean you no harm, and he ended up being taken to the Pentagon with the police, the sheriff, the whatever. He got on the underground train and went to the White House. And by the time he appeared with Eisenhower, there were 10 military attaches and police forces were still with him. And he came to Eisenhower, and he said, something like, he says, well, it's quite interesting. He said, where do you come from? And he said, I come from the one you call the Morning Star. And Eisenhower said, Venus said, yes, sir. And he extended his hand, and all the Secret Service, oh, wow, and they all got upset like he was going to do something to him, like they could stop him anyway. And he spoke with Eisenhower, and then Tricky Dick Nixon came running in and said, you made quite a stir around here. And ended up, he was offered an apartment in the Pentagon for 3 years. He said he could stay, and he was trying to work with the government and to world governments, actually, to get them to work with them and to come into an agreement with the treaty. Because at this time, the government had already started to make arrangements and agreements with the fallen beings known as the Greys, who were working with a Draco reptilian influence. In fact, they had already been here for 16,000 years, and they had elite families hybridized of these Draco reptilians. We know them as the Rothschilds, the Clintons, the Rockefellers. They're known as the elite black nobility families, and the Orsinis, the Medici, you name it. And these are all hybrids. They're not humans. They're traitors to humanity. They've been told that they're special and elite, and they have a right to rule the world. And they've been doing so by literally doing the work of Satan who was cast into this earth. And they are circumnavigating galactic law of non-interference by hybridizing themselves with humans to the point where they have kind of like, let's call them the parents. These parents can interbreed with various genetic lines of Earth, which are thousands of years old. And these would be in the high levels of the Khazarian mafia, which aren't really Jewish people, but elite families, royal families, the House of Windsor, the House of Bourbon, etc., etc., etc. And so there's behind the scenes an organization that decides about wars. They call it a theater of war because they create them. So of course the Venusians know all this information, but they're trying without interfering to convert people to the positive side and understanding the truth, and not a religion of Jesus Christ, but to follow the teachings of love from what they consider the Creator's Son. Okay? So now this meeting took place in March of '57 in Highbridge, New Jersey, and I know the man that had this meeting. I took him to Egypt, and I took Wendell Stevens there in 1991. So I know this man personally. He was having contact in the 40s with Venusians. Lots of stories that could be told around that. So this is Valiant Thor. I met him in 2003. He appeared at a peace and love festival called the Rainbow Gathering in 2003, along with another man and a woman. And when I saw him, I go, that looks like Valiant Thor. And they put a blank on my mind. And I looked at his stomach because he had no T-shirt. But Valiant Thor is a created being from a higher dimension. He doesn't have a belly button. But when I looked, it went blurry, and I forgot for the entire interaction with them that he was a Venusian. Okay? We spoke for a little bit. I gave a massage to one of the women there. That's what I do for many years. And that was in 2003. I met this gentleman. This gentleman here, I met in 1984 in Yucca Valley at Gabriel Green's house. I was asking Gabriel Green, and I was saying, well, what do they wear and stuff? What are they doing here? He says, Rob, they love the 50s. I said, yeah, they love the 50s. Oh, yeah, they were into the DuckTales, Rebel Without a Cause, the T-shirts. So I left him, and I went to a TikTok. I've had a lot of experiences with Venusians at TikTok kind of things. So I go to the TikTok, and this gentleman drives in with another guy. They're both wearing white T-shirts, wearing jeans, penny loafers. I know he had a penny in it. And there were three girls kind of like her, white blonde hair, almost platinum. They were wearing mini skirts, not as short as Austin Powers, but a little bit longer, but not as long as the girls would have worn in the 50s. Plaid mini skirts, white knee-high socks, and brown and white saddle shoes. They came in the mint condition 1957 blue and white convertible Chevy with the top down that folded into the back. It wasn't like up top. And they were sitting on the back. They weren't riding in the seat and sat up on the back. They arrived sitting on the back seat as I'm walking up the ramp. I was like, oh my God. And I recognized, because of what Gabe told me, these could be the thing. And then I recognized him from this photograph. This is Don Thor, the vice commander of the flagship of the Venusian Victor-class fleet that guards and watch over the Earth, monitors every radioactive isotope, monitors at least 1,000 individuals that can do harm, every thought, word, and deed and action. They have a full monitoring program here, and they interfere according to their rules and influence positively, and they're gaining more abilities to responsibly present themselves to us as we grow in gnosis, as we grow in peace and understanding, and as we refuse to do the bidding of the fallen elite who create wars and death and destruction and give you poison food and spray you like cockroaches. This is a battle of the light forces and the dark. I can tell you now, the light forces have won, and many of the fallen demons have been removed. There are still activities going on by the consistently, step-by-step being neutered of the elite families and the militaries. And all those white hats in the militaries, folks, that's a lie. None of them are doing anything. At the highest level, some of them in individualized actions are counteracting certain things, but there is not a consensus amongst the military, and there's no one below a colonel that has a clue, unless they're involved in certain operations with the extraterrestrial secret space program of the Earth and the extraterrestrials going on. That's about, lid's about to pop off. They can think they're giving you disclosure, Brother Allen. Oh, yeah, we're going to change it from UFO to UAP. None of those congressional hearings, it's all lies, and the individuals there have minimal experience. Dan Bursch, whatever that guy is, good guy. I know he's well-intended, but he clammed up. They put the security on him. He couldn't tell the truth. So I'm going to say, forget disclosure. It's coming through people like me, real contactees, and very soon it's going to hit the mainstream, and the media's control network is going to be taken down. And everyone's going to start learning. Whether they can absorb it or not, that's up to you people. Are you open-minded? Are you conscious? Are you aware? Are you spiritual but not religious? Are you open-minded? So these people here knew that they were different. They were speaking Afrikaans. So no one could understand them. Valiant Thor or Don Thor, when one person was watching them jumped over a 15-foot fence. So there would be a record of that. So these three individuals, she is Valiant Thor's wife. Her name is Jillian. They have several children. I met her in 2007 in an inner circle meeting with Dr. Frank Stranges. I met another one in Las Vegas as well. Now, this meeting with him, he got out of the car. The girls got out and started skipping around the store. I was just sitting here with my jaw hanging open. I was with another guy who's supposedly a contactee. It went away. I said, that's them, the visitor. What? No, they blocked him. He couldn't grasp it. So I went and got something, and the girls were looking they were skipping with the frequency of love and cheerfulness and joy of a 12-year-old. Of course, they're not looking much over 30. And Valiant, this guy comes up, Don Thor, comes up right before me at the counter. And he looks at me, and he raises, his eyebrow was raised a little bit more than that. And he goes, and he says, I'll have a pack of Camels. And so and then he turned and looked at me, and I telepathically said, go ahead, smoke it. I know you guys don't smoke. And he was wearing his white T-shirt. He had the cuff rolled up on his jeans and his shoes. And he started pounding the cigarettes on the counter like they did in the 50s. And then he said, I'll have a pack of matches. And then wait for it. He turns to me, and I thought he was going to light it up, which you could in the store in 1970 or 1981, but he rolled it into his arms. So those are my three contacts with these individuals. I've told the story lots of times. I'm not a liar, and those who want to believe so, you can do that. When we went to China, this image here was given to Valiant Thor because we were arrested. The wonderful, beautiful people of China were fined. And we all spent about 12 hours in jail. And the Venusians, of course, behind the scenes arranged our release. They kept trying to get me to say stuff, and I said, I'm not going to throw these people under the bus. They're brilliant people, and we're speaking the truth. I said, you know, they took our computers, and I didn't bring, mine was almost out of battery, so they didn't install a minor spyware, but they kept asking me, and I said, nope, not going to open it. They didn't have an Apple for it, so I got my computer back. So that was a trip to China. That's actually a signed message from Valiant Thor, written in, looks like pretty accurate, neat Mandarin Chinese. He's quite handsome, and as I said, they're here, and there's purposely hidden truths that Raymond and I and many other contactees that we stand upon the shoulders of are ready to share with humanity. I'm not asking for a cult. I don't want you to follow me. I want you to use discernment, listen to my message, be open-minded to other contactees. We all have some mistakes and errors in our information. Mine is a little less so. I don't have a computer chip in my head that's telling me things that I can make up things or add things to. But I have their messages. When I'm speaking my own experience, I have my own apperceptions. There are many thousands of federations out there. They're very concerned for us. It's like the universe has a stub toe, and they send a lot of beings here to clean up the bacteria of the fallen angels. And there's a lot of things happening esoterically that are transforming the planet. So that's the good news. He sent me this book, was Dr. Frank Strange's first book about Valiant Thor. I forget the original date, but they sent me a copy of that. And Dr. Frank Strange eventually wrote, I guess I can share that with you real quick here. Oops, let me go back here. I can share with you, if you can see, if I'm up on the screen, you can see that's a poster of Stranger at the Pentagon. It was attempted to be turned into a movie. So I'm going to go forward. This is George Trent Williamson. He was wearing a red beret as well. And I'm going to go back to the red beret and the Freemasons and the American French Revolution in just a moment. And this is where I'm going to do it. So this woman here is the moon-based commander that I met. Her body is slightly different. Okay? They can create various iterations of their avatar body. Okay? I'm sure she pretty much looks like this. There are certain elements of her Her legs, when I met her, were not nearly this stocky, but they were pretty stocky. She has a beautiful brown hair, and when I shook her hand, it was like baby soft, like Dr. Frank Strange has said, and she does not have fingerprints. Valiant Thor does not have fingerprints. He said, you've had that because you were marked. So this is a picture. This woman here was being taken to Venus. She had family on Venus and children on Venus. And here she was at a giant rock convention near Landers, California, and telling, this is how the UFO conventions were done back in the day. This is the moon base commander. She's wearing a pretty racy outfit then. If we look here, we see her. She won the title of Queen of Outer Space. And I didn't show the picture, but on the left here is a guy we know as Long John Neville, the Art Bell of his day. And in the 40s, he was doing a show late night from 12 to like 3 in the morning that had the biggest listenership, and he was interviewing Howard Menger repeatedly, the gentleman that had his contact with the Venusians, where that previous picture of Valiant Thor was. This is how they have taken the message to the people because the governments wouldn't listen. This hand on the right is the original Frank Scully, who people talk about the X-Files. So this is the woman that I met. Her teeth are a little different. Her eyes are still the same. Her nose is pretty much similar, but how's that for an amazing photo of a Venusian in 1950s? She has come and gone from this earth for 300 years, and she is the moon base commander. And I can tell you that not all the time, but she does have the ability to create an etheric double, as the Queen did. This is a picture of her. Many people will be upset because they're programmed by communism. Well, the Venusians believe very much in a free-form association that Christ had with his disciples. If you wanted to be part of his group, you had to give up all of your wealth and all of your belongings to a group coffer that actually Judas administered, but it was mostly spent on helping and feeding the homeless and the poor. And of course, some of the disciples grumbled a little bit. They didn't have much food, but Jesus was in charge. Oh, I'm not going to share that one. So this is Miss Raines, and I'm going to tell you her story. She met General Eisenhower in 1954 at Muroc Air Force Base. She landed her Venusian Ventla, and the military didn't want him to go aboard, but he said, I'm going to go aboard. So he went aboard, and she told him, like she had, like many of the Venusians, had landed and talked to Khrushchev and many others, and said, look, they gave him the information, and they had the scientists check it. They said, you have to stop your nuclear testing. You're going to precipitate what's called an axial flip. In other words, a 5,000-foot tsunami would roll over, and we would go to South America, and South America would come here. There's a natural axial flip that takes place every 5,000 years. For those who know, some people say it's 12,000, but it's every 5,000 years. And that's because the Earth has a tilt, and it has to do with some things in our past. I won't go into that. So here she is wearing a red beret. Now, she had worked in the American, the French, and the Caribbean Revolution. First, I'm going to talk about the French and American and French Revolution. So let's see here.
This communication.
Okay, so that's it for the slideshow. So I'm going to remove that one now. So I'm going to go back here for a second, and I'm going to pull up another message. But before I do that, I'm going to play the other message from the. I'm going to play the Venusian message first. Put that down. All right, so I'm going to get up here and get ready for the other message. And what time? What's our time now?
We are at the 2:30 mark. We can go as long as you need to, but I would also like you to momentarily.
2 hours and 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Really? Holy
Absolutely.
smokes. Okay,
We can go ahead and go
I'll-
to that video that you had of the guy that was using a dimensional portal. I'd like to see that
I've already
again.
done that. I'm not going to do it again. Nope, already did that.
Okay.
You missed
Um,
it. You were gone. So it's okay.
well, I
So I
wanted to
want to go
discuss
into,
it with you, but that's okay.
yeah, yeah, it's okay. I don't want to play that one again. It was kind of, I don't know if I really should have, but people get excited, but it's what I call the proof.
Well,
That's about as far
I
as,
would have to agree with that. That's the reason why I wanted you to play it again. And the reason being
it's
is
been played. You
because
were walking around. You
the
were walking
video,
around with your friend. I trust me.
the video that shows has a two-dimensional effect, whereas the video is three-dimensional. But what that tells me is whatever the effect was affecting the camera two-dimensionally rather than what was before it. So that was actually a camera effect, but that's definite interference by some other equipment, is what I wanted to point out.
Yeah, there's really no way to prove anything there. I'm just putting this out there. You can call it AI. You can call it a fake.
No, because
But
if
don't
anyone
worry,
tried to fake it, they would not have chosen that kind of effect. As simple as that.
well, I appreciate that. I'm sure people will have different opinions. It's okay. So I'm going to tell you about the founding fathers. So I think I'm done with the screen share. If you can, maybe we can go to gallery view, or would that be okay? Or uh, let's try that. I've lost your voice. I've lost your voice.
Okay, I'm going to zoom in on you, and it's just you, basically full screen.
Okay. Well, I appreciate FOS's new technology for both Alan and I think he's doing a fantastic job. And I really appreciate the time on here. I had no idea I was going this long, but I think this is a good introduction. So I'm going to go back to my meeting with the commander. She was wearing that red beret, and the gentleman holding the camera, I found out later, was 2,400 years old, and lots of stuff that you'll be revealing. So Alan had asked me a question, the connection between the Freemasons and the Venus. So I'm going to talk about the Freemasons. In the 1700s, there was a group of French and Americans involved in the Freemasons. These were the resistance against the Draco-Reptilian Illuminati royal bloodlines. Now, there was also a group called the Illuminati, and I'm going to tell you they're both good and bad Illuminati. The way these meetings were run back in those days is probably similar to what the elite families do now in the movie Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise. So there were some very spiritual masters working with the elite, positive, spiritual intelligentsia of the world. And this call would go out upon occasion for them to come together so that they could work to overcome some of the negative plans of the dark beings. This is a hidden battle between the dark and the light of humanity within the Earth's political system, and that was affecting the outward system. Now, due to the non-interference policies, which were being violated by the Draco-Reptilian groups in the elite royal families and in their lower level minions in politics. It was only the kings and the queens and the certain bloodlines that were aware of this. And there were literally, you look at the gargoyles on the castles, you know, and what happened to Joan of Arc, they did a lot of torturing, a lot of bloodletting, and because that's how they ran. That's how they roll, torturing little children, drinking their blood in rituals. Very, very disturbing, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm telling you that for the most part, that is over. But you have to look into the past. You have to face it. You don't go into denial. But the knowledge will come forward. I'm telling you, you don't have any evidence. I'm 67. I have 50 years of face-to-face contact. Now, it doesn't make me better.